I didn't think that I was going to do a raw review on this, but there were some decent moments that's actually worth talking about. Especially the update about that fan or kid, I don't know if it was a kid, getting hit by a car door. Well, guys, here's my review. Okay, before I actually get into the one thing that's kind of the hot topic, not only for Twitter, but also for everything else, because this is going to pretty much be on the media probably by tomorrow morning. But anyway, let me get started on the opener. I will say this. When it comes to Paul Heyman knows how to start off and start off well. And honestly, he really does know how to make Brock Lesnar look good. The only thing I will say is this: if he really thinks that the whole spiel, his promo is going to be a lot more powerful if he adds a few biblical references in there, it doesn't. It's a bit, it's overkill. It really is. It was kind of insignificant to talk about the 11 commandments of Brock Lesnar and thou shalt not provoke Brock Lesnar and Suplex City. The whole Suplex City thing was cool, but honestly, Paul Heyman's notorious for bringing up the biblical references, thinking they'll bring a little bit more oomph to his promo. It don't. It just seems real hokey and just ridiculously stupid. It does. It's pointless. Honestly, you really don't need to have any biblical references or try to make anything more powerful when it comes to Brock Lesnar, because the dude's already powerful. We already know that this guy can take anybody out if he really wanted to. And shoot, we saw that with Kofi when for the Beast in the East. He tore Kofi limb from limb. Kofi didn't really have a shot in the dark of even winning, let alone having any offense or defense. But besides all that, it was pointless to even do that. But nonetheless, it actually did prove his point. And it showed that with the whole Suplex City thing, everybody being behind it, that we all know that Brock Lesnar happens to be a beast. Whether or not he's going to be booked as a beast at Battleground, it's a whole nother story, because I don't see Seth Rollins winning by himself. Not against Brock Lesnar. But anyway, moving on from there. I will say, guys, that it did slow down after the whole Brock Lesnar thing, in my opinion, because of those stupid, ugly Photoshop photos of Kane. Here's my question. You're in freaking Japan. All you had to do was fly to Hawaii and actually take some pics. That's all you had to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Kane was actually there. And in that case, if they were planning on doing this, they should have had him go to Japan, stay in Japan behind the scenes, then fly to Hawaii, take some shots, and then go back to the States. It would have made plenty of sense. While though you'll still be in the States, since Hawaii is the 50th state, but regardless of that, all they had to do was fly Hawaii and then fly back to wherever they were supposed to be, fly straight to Chicago. That's all they had to do. It looked so cheesy, so ridiculously hokey. I was just getting really sucked out of the entire program. Seriously, it was. But pretty much the main goal here is to get people to watch Battleground. Battleground was horrible last year. What they really need to do is to try to pump it up so people will be able to watch it, or people will be wanting to watch it. So you want to pump up the feuds, you want to bring out the card, and make the cards look strong enough to where people want to watch the show. But we all know, after watching Beast in the East, the only reason why people are going to stay tuned to Battleground is practically because of Owens and Cena. But that actually led to the main event of the night, and I'll get to that a little bit later. We had a Divas match, and honestly, guys, my question is this. What the heck is going on with Naomi's push? It's just like, it's back and forth with her. She should have been in Japan. It should have been some kind of a four-way. Her, Tamina, Nikki, and Paige. I understand Paige is the number one contender. I get it. But, and I'm happy that Tamina was there, but since Naomi wasn't injured, why wasn't she in there with them? Why didn't she fly to Japan to fight with them? Since she has such a great push being a heel, what's with the stop and go? I really don't get it. I don't get it at all. Now, all of a sudden, tonight, that Naomi and Tamina are a tag team, and then Tamina flies across the entire country all the way to Japan to face Nikki when Naomi should have been in the mix too. I really don't know what's going on with Naomi's push, but it's been back and forth for nearly a month now. It's been like back and forth. I don't really get it at all. But honestly, I don't really see her being champion anytime soon. I don't see anybody being a champion anytime soon because, like I said on my review, I really believe that they're trying to have Nikki hold on to that belt as long as she possibly can until WrestleMania and try to beat AJ Lee's record. I really believe that's the main reason why she's doing it. She's at 220 right now. So AJ Lee was at 292, either 295 or 292. Either or, she's going to probably be pushing towards that and probably a little bit more maybe after this year's WrestleMania. But moving on from there. Honestly, guys, I really started to get really tired towards the middle of the show. Like, towards the second hour, it got really tough to even stay awake. I actually did wake up towards the main event, pretty much to the middle of it. Actually, it really wasn't the middle of it. It was supposed to end, and it went way over. But besides all that, let's go back a little bit and talk about some of the segments. I actually did have a chance to see Seth Rollins, and the fact that we saw Triple H there, him talking. Honestly, I am noticing that Triple H is way different when Stephanie is not there. And that's how it really should be. I really don't know what's going on with Stephanie. I think she's supposed to be ambassador or something. For, gosh, what is it? I think it's the Roosevelt ambassador. Like, it's named after one of our presidents. I can't remember what. But she's probably overseas doing some business, maybe. And Triple H is actually taking over the show. But I'm noticing that Triple H is a lot different when Stephanie isn't there. And honestly, the show itself really wasn't all that bad. It actually did stay true to what Battleground was supposed to be, and he kind of tried to do his best to enhance some of the feuds. I will say that. But the one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, was the main event. But I keep skipping back and forth. But I will say this. I love the head games that's coming out of Bray Wyatt. Like, Bray Wyatt really does need to have some kind of an interest behind him. Something that will actually keep people interested in his character. Because every single feud he's been in, he has always lost. He's only had a few wins behind his belt, but he needs to have a dominant win against Roman Reigns. He really needs this win more than Roman does. And the head games that he's playing Roman Reigns is done really well. It's really playing with his head. As creepy as it is, it actually is doing its job. And having the whole Bray Wyatt clone coming out there thinking that that's Bray, but they end up wearing a wig instead. And Bray Wyatt in the end played with his head. I love that psychology. Excuse me. Whew, tired. I love that psychology. But the one thing that kind of gave me a little bit of a gripe was how quickly it ended. For some reason, Roman Reigns kind of vanished. We really don't know what happened to him. He just kind of disappeared. He didn't run after Bray. We didn't really see what happened to him behind the scenes. He just disappeared. So I'm like, okay, you're going to cut it off that quick? I'm like, all right. And then it's going to be all Sheamus' moment in the ring. Great, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Randy Orton comes out randomly for some strange reason and did an arcade. I'm going to be real with you. Randy Orton is becoming stale. I understand that Randy Orton has a part-time gig now. I mean, well, the fact is he actually has a part-time contract and he only comes out for certain pay-per-views. I get it. I understand that. But seriously, Randy Orton coming in randomly just to get title shots and he'll never win? What's the point? Like, seriously, what's the point of having him coming out, doing all these interruptions and doing these random feuds if they don't go anywhere? It doesn't ever go anywhere. But seriously, Randy Orton really doesn't need to have any more wins. He's been in the game long enough. He's been champion long enough, and he really doesn't need it. But honestly, he really does need to be in a feud and have a decent build to a feud to make the pay-per-view seem believable. But for him coming out randomly, it's just flat out stupid. I know that people still like Randy Orton and all, and don't get me wrong, he still is hot. But regardless of that, you gotta give him some substance. It's like, seriously, he's just there randomly, and it just looks stupid and a little weird. That's just me. That's just how I see it. But let's move on from there. I will say that the highlight of the night definitely was, I keep going back and forth here. And I know I'm like going back and forth between the main event and also between Brock Lesnar and him destroying the car. But I guess before I talk about that, let's talk about the main event. And that was the main event of the night. And I know that There was a match between the Lucha Dragons and the New Day, and honestly, guys, the highlight of that whole match was the commentary. It was. The fact that you had the primetime players literally shut down JBL not once, not twice, but 3 times was a highlight for me, because I'm getting sick to death of JBL. Like, JBL can be a condescending little jerk at times, but not to mention he goes back and forth between being a face commentator and a heel commentator. It really was satisfying to hear Titus O'Neil shut him down multiple times. Darren Young usually is a bump on the wall, and he actually allows Titus O'Neil to do all the talking, because Darren Young is not really that great of a talker. He's okay, but he just don't have much personality when he speaks. But besides all that, it was a highlight of my night to literally see Titus O'Neil get shut down. I mean, Titus O'Neil literally shut down JBL multiple times. That was a highlight for me. And I actually had to go back and see it again because I fell asleep. But regardless of that, let's talk about the main event. The main event was great. It was long, but it was still great. But it did nothing for Cesaro. I'm sorry, it didn't. We already know that John Cena's open challenges that he had for the U.S. title is gonna be great. Ever since he did it with Neville, ever since he did it with Sami Zayn, it has been great since then. The feud, and it led to the feud with Kevin Owens. It had great moments. I won't deny that. I will never take it from Cesaro that he can put on great matches, because the man can. But it does nothing for his career. The guy has not moved up in nearly a year. I mean, he's had setback after setback after setback, and yes, he put on a fantastic match, and I'm not going to say he got squashed, because he didn't, and I'm not going to say he got buried, because he didn't. He put on a great match, he made himself look good, which is great, but his career is stagnant. It's not even moving. It's just like at a plateau. It's just like right here. So I'm like, what's the point of putting on good matches if your career isn't going to go anywhere? I'm actually hoping, and I'm not going to try to be overly critical with this, because they may be holding out for him, maybe after this feud. So I'm going to be a little bit more open-minded when it comes to this, but it is a shame. It's a shame that he put on literally a 5-star match, but his career is like this. It's just not moving. I'm hoping things will change, maybe after this feud with Owens, and maybe they'll do something with Cesaro, maybe against Kevin Owens. I don't know, but they need to do something with Cesaro. Seriously, he hasn't had a title in a long time. And he's a really great talent. And I hope they don't waste it for him to leave and go somewhere else. But let's talk about something that was pretty much considered the main event. This was all over Twitter. This was a moment that really no one ever expected to be a highlight. We kind of expected that caddy to get destroyed. Especially the fact of how new it is. And they paid 55 grand for it. Which I don't know why. So I guess if they pay for it, they necessarily... the companies can't necessarily gripe about what they do with the car, because hey, they got their money. But that was just with the dealership. But despite all that, okay, I actually did put this report on my Wrestling Fan Nation page, but for those that really want to read it now, I'll try to put down in the comments below, well, in the description box. Well, Brock Lesnar went ballistic all over a caddy, the latest caddy, the 2015 caddy. Probably 2016, I don't know. I just know it was new and it was ugly because it was pimped out in the wrong way. But despite all that, he literally took everything in the kitchen sink at it. Like from an axe to it to like literally ripping off the door. But the moment that everybody is literally talking about on Twitter is the moment that Brock Lesnar actually threw the door into the crowd and hit a fan. And they said the fan was actually reported to be injured. But after looking at the tapes, it seems like that he probably got nailed. But he picked up the door like it was no problem, hanging over his head like it was a trophy. So I don't think that he actually had a problem at all. I mean, I don't think that there was anything wrong. I think that he was okay after that. But as from the report said, they actually did take him behind the scenes. Just the security as well as their doctors took him behind the scenes and checked on him to see whether or not he was all right. And he actually went back to his seat, so he was all right. But I actually do have the report as well as the footage on the report on my Wrestling Fan Nation page. But if you want to see it now, I'll put it in the description box. But man, Brock Lesnar went crazy when it came to that card. I think he kind of underestimated his own strength, and I don't think he actually meant to throw it that far. But hey, everybody underestimates themselves. So, I mean, hey, that happened. But guys, my overall thoughts is this. This Raw was okay. There was a few things I didn't really understand about it, especially the stupid Photoshop. But it did have a pretty much a 5-star performance towards the end. It's just a shame it's not going to do anything for Cesaro's career. But otherwise, they did something leading on up to Battleground, and it made people interested to even watch it. So at least they did something there. I'm hoping they actually have a better build since they have 2 more weeks to go, and they don't really slow down, especially if we get some more extreme corniness, like if Vince takes over or whatever. But I will say this, guys. I'm kind of interested to see what the Battleground card is. I'm kind of interested to see where they're going to go from here. But I want to hear y'all's thoughts. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Send me a video response. I want to hear y'all's thoughts. And then, like I said, if you want to hear about the story that happened with the fan, I will leave it in the description box below. It's Nancy Car 30 signing off. Peace out, guys. Later.